Hi there. Welcome to the veritable edge of Western civilization yet again. I am your host. What's his name? Who's-he, what's-he? The fuzzy-headed fellow. David Alexander English. And once again, we're here in Venice Beach, Californication. Today is Thursday, Jupiter Day, day of expansion and opportunity, faith and philosophy of life. This is show number 173, and it occurs to me that we're fast approaching the anniversary of this show. I think I started it probably around the second week, first or second week of May. So it occurs to me that this is the 173rd show, which means if we do a show, today is April 23rd, 2015. And if I do another week of shows, 7 days of shows by the anniversary, that means that I will have spent half of the year doing the show, which is really, really cool. Anyway, we'll be at 180 shows. Yippee-yi-yo, as if numbers really mattered. Which they do, of course, on some level. So this is going to be a short show because we got a little later start. It's almost 7 o'clock here on the west coast of North America. I've been debating about whether or not I was going to do it all day because it's just kind of chilly. Don't do good with the chili. It's just if there's one thing that makes painting not fun is when your hands are cold. And it's just kind of this constant little breezy thing. But the sun came out for a little bit and started moving around, doing my little headstandy thing. And I was really blessed yesterday. I had this young woman from Ethiopia come all the way from downtown to meet me because of she had watched that Lilu show interview the day before, and she called me up and said, where are you? Are you around? And so she came down, and I just wanted to say that was really cool. I don't know, this Lilu thing, man, it's really had some pretty... I got an email today, actually, from somebody in Djibouti, West Africa, the Horn of Africa, introducing themselves, saying that they watched I have to admit, the way we've all had these emails come from, it says, hi, I'm blah, 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 and I'm from Africa, and usually when, you want to delete those pretty quick, get on with the rest of your list. But I just kept reading, and then they mentioned the Lilu, so I knew it wasn't just a fishing thing. And but that's, it basically said that they were really inspired by watching that video, and which is really, really cool. There's this, if you watch the Kelly's movie, the Return of the Magi remix that I edited, and got the go-ahead to release the day that I shot that Lilu interviewed me, which is why I was in such a great mood. there's an interview in there with this magnificent, one of the most highly respected astrologers on the planet. His name is Stephen Forrest. And he's a couple of years older than me. And he lives, these days, he lives about 100 miles that way towards the desert, in the desert. He lives in this place called Borrego Springs. And we've become friends on Facebook. And so I see his posts, and he's always posting shots he takes when he goes out hiking in the mountains there. And but in the movie, he talks about the Saturn return. Now, everybody, if you know anything about astrology, you've heard about the Saturn return. It's, you know, Saturn takes 29.5 years to go around the sun, and it so when you're 29.5 years old, it returns to where it was when you were born. Wherever it shows up in your chart, it tells us what your path of mastery is. Excuse me, your karmic lesson. Path of mastery. That's Chiron. That's what happens around when you're around 50. Saturn return is wherever Saturn shows up in your chart, it tells us what your karmic lesson is for this incarnation. And mine happens to be at 7 degrees Sagittarius, right on the cusp of my 10th and 11th house. And which means that where Saturn is in the sky at this moment is around 4 degrees Sagittarius. So I'm actually in what's known as the second Saturn return that happens in your late 50s. And he talks about, you know, often you hear astrologers talking about the first Saturn return, but he actually talks about the second Saturn return. And I think it's because when the movie was made, he was about to go through it. And one of the things he says to understand the second Saturn return is he says what's interesting about Saturn returns in general is that they kind of divide life up into 3 parts. And the first part, you know, the first 29 years is a time of youth, and the second, you know, when you come up to the first Saturn return, and then once you've had your first Saturn return, your life is in the midst of the acquisitive phase, you know, where you're acquiring all sorts of stuff, right? And then the second Saturn return happens between, you know, 57 and 59, and you know, 56, 57, 58, 59 should be done by then. And you feel, as he put it, this is the time of giving away all you've acquired, right? Of sharing what you've learned, of sharing knowledge, sharing wisdom. And he said, he posits that he thinks it's a pedicab trying to crash through the sand to get to the bike path. What he said is he thinks that the second Saturn return is successful when a person feels that what they're trying to give away, what they're trying to share, the gifts they're trying to share with the world are actually being received. And so when they're not being received, then a person can experience guy fell off his skateboard as the police were driving by, crossing onto the beach. I'll just narrate the local stuff. Cool. So one of the things that he mentions is that people that have whose gifts and offerings are not being received are essentially dealing with that for a certain level of frustration. And when I thought about it, so when you're editing a movie, you spend a lot of time looking at the same footage over and over and over and over again. I can tell you how many times I've watched all that footage, and I watched him say all that. It's like I could say pretty much verbatim what everybody says it's in the movie, in the documentary, which you can plug. You can see on wisdomofthemagi.com. You can watch for free. It's an 86-minute documentary. It took me a year and a half to edit, and if you haven't heard the backstory on that, you know, my friend Kelly Phipps passed away a year ago, but before he died, he asked me to re-edit his 2008 astrology documentary, Return of the Magi. And that movie was about 3 hours long, and I edited it down to 86 minutes and got rid of all the dramatic elements and whatnot. And hopefully it's a lot. And the reason he wanted me to do that was as a fundraiser for his son Arion, who started his college in Colorado engineering courses last September. So another reason for plugging it is to get anybody and everybody to send some contribute to whatever funds. No money is, no donation is too small to send to Arion via using PayPal and his email address, and all of that's on the Wisdom of the Magi website. End of plug. So when I was going through the year and a half of editing this movie, especially towards the end of it, there was a lot of resistance. You know, I'm not going to go into all the politics around it and everything like that, but there was a fair amount of resistance that I had to overcome. And there were actually 2 points in the process where I had to accept, literally make my peace with the idea that all of that work would never see the light of day. And so that frustration, I had to overcome the frustration and the, you know, childlike rage of I want to share with the world and you won't let me, that kind of, all that stuff inside. Never said it out loud. So this is what you said, yeah. But it felt, I understood, when I looked at Stephen's, what he was saying about the second Saturn return, I totally get it, you know, because I'm in the middle of it, of the second Saturn return right now. I definitely feel like well, let's just put a contrast, okay? A month before, actually a week before the movie got released, I was dealing with the possibility that the movie would never see the light of day. And so I was having to overcome all that frustration and everything like that, right? And then the day that the movie, that the interview was made, where what's happening in this interview, I'm getting to share all this information from life, the universe, and everything that I've learned over, you know, 57 years. I didn't realize it at the time when I was giving the interview, but it went, you know, this woman, Lilu, has like 87,000 subscribers, you know, and I'd never heard of her before, so it was kind of interesting to you know, just to be two people having a conversation, just like I would normally have here on the boardwalk with whoever came up, you know. So I was excited. I was very excited to share what I knew, you know. And so you contrast that sense of frustration at not being able to share what I know, or what I've acquired in terms of knowledge and wisdom and all that kind of stuff, because Saturn is the teacher, you know, the architecture, the executive, you know, the authority, the author, right? It rules Capricorn. It's about authority, right? So, you know, Saturn is the ruler of authority, right? And astrologically speaking, and so, you know, feeling the tension around being able to share information, sharing knowledge and all that, and not being able to, and then contrasting that with that moment of being able to feel, to experience the sharing of the knowledge. I just felt tremendously, you know, before, you know, it was 3 weeks before that documentary was released. I mean, the interview was released, and in that time, I just felt really great that we had a good conversation. You know what I mean? I didn't necessarily know that it was going to have the effect or what was communicated or anything like that. So, yeah. So if you're anywhere near your Saturn return, that's what, you know, that's what that's all about. Okay, so I want to probably have, what do we got? We got it's 7:07. Yay! Here on the west coast of North America. And we probably got at least 20 minutes before I'm going to have to start packing it up. So this is the painting that I started yesterday, and I had some ideas about what I wanted to do with that. So I'm going to do that. It's definitely time to go get some more paint.
What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Life is good.
Really impressive
Hi.
stuff. She's like a big artist. She loves your stuff. How you doing today?
Pretty
Late
good.
start, just chilling out.
What's that?
Late in the day. A lot of people are packing up.
You'll have that. I'm in the middle of doing my live stream show, and which I do this time of day because everybody's packing up.
Oh, get out of here. So we're blabbing to you while you're working.
That's right.
That is awesome. What is it streamed on?
YouTube.
That is awesome. How many people you got?
It's heck out of me. I don't usually check.
Oh, that is awesome. It's like therapy for people.
For me? I'm not kidding, man. It's really great. Especially if there's somebody watching.
Especially if someone's annoying.
No. That's part of it. Where you from? How could I tell? And self-examining.
We're socially aware.
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice way of putting it. Yep, sure. That's fun. Sometimes people step up and their energy is just, when I'm painting them, it's in such a zone. And, somebody come up with some really loud energy and it's just like very jarring. But I try to, get into their speed. Or not. I admit to being moody. Okay. That's cute, right? Okay. Much better. Okay. And I painted this gold on here yesterday while the background was still wet, and it kind of dulls the gold. Just wanted to freshen it up a little bit. Because we can. Whee! Something like that. Okay, so yes. So go on in there, man. Something warmer on the body. Oh, the sun's approaching the horizon. Where are we going? Something in there. So here's something for you. I remember where. Yeah, there it is. See if we can show it to you. Let's try this. Can you see it? Go. Man, those colors just don't make it in there. That is such a beautiful orange in real life. Right there. Crazy. Okay.
I found in my other pocket. Okay. I found some single saws. Thank you. All right.
So, I want to tell you about this, and then we'll call it a night. When a couple of years ago, probably about 10 or 15, dang, it's probably 20 years ago now that I think about it. I don't know where I had this, somewhere I read or came to me in a meditation or something like that, but imagine like your navel. There's my navel right there. It's an inch and a half below your navel. In the center of your being, right? The center of your being, an inch and a half below your navel. There's this thing called the Tantien in Asian martial arts. Beneath the layers, the 7 layers of the auric field, there is this other etheric body called the level of intention, and on that, this is one of your energy bodies, right? On that level, there are 4 points. There's the center of the earth. There's this point that's at the center of your being called the Tantien. So your center of gravity, right? And there's this, see this right here? See this right here? That point right there, 2.5 inches below that, in the center of your being, there is another point. It's a purple blue like flame, right? And then 3.5 feet above your head, top of your head, is a cone that's about the size of an acorn, and the flat part of the cone is facing the top of your head. Now, all three of those, 4 of those points, the center of the earth, the Tantien, this point right here, and the point above your head, are all, when you're healthy, when you're connected, all 4 of those points are connected by a golden cord. Runs up through the middle of each one of those points. Now, most people are disconnected from the Tantien to the center of the earth. Most people are ungrounded, essentially, spiritually ungrounded. But martial artists, they spend a lot of time working on making sure that that cord from the center of their gravity is connected to the center of the earth, right? So this is your will to incarnate. This is your reason for incarnating. And the thing above your head is your will, your reason, and your longing to incarnate. Yeah, I may have that wrong, but you can look it up. And so when all 3 of those points in your body are connected to the center of the earth, you're in alignment with divine will. And you can do that simply by imagining that imagining those 4 points, center of the earth, the Tantien, your willingness to incarnate, your reason to incarnate, and your longing to incarnate. When they're all connected by this golden cord, that golden cord goes straight up into infinity and divinity, infinite consciousness. And you're in alignment with divine will. You can just picture that happening, right? Now, years ago, before I learned this, there is I think the woman's name is Barbara Stein. She wrote a book on Reiki, a textbook on how to do Reiki healing. And she talks about that energy body. But also there's Barbara Ann Brennan in her second book, Light Emerging. She wrote the first book, Hands of Light. She talks about this, and she uses this often in her classes, apparently, where she teaches people how to see auras and how to work with the human energy field and the universal energy field. And she was an atmospheric scientist for NASA, and then went back and got a degree in counseling. And second day of her counseling session, she recovered her ability to see auras that she had when she was a kid running through the woods, and that became her practice over 15 years. She became, an expert in working with the human energy field and the universal energy field, and seeing energy and seeing people's chakra systems working and not working, and so she can tell you, if you're on the second layer of your energy, of your auric field, if your chakra is, your solar plexus chakra is should be rotating in a clockwise direction at a diameter of six inches. You kind of get a feeling that she knows what she's talking about. Because if you're not, then the other chakras have to compensate for that. And I spent 2 months in a cabin in 1998 in New Hampshire, reading her books cover to cover, and I'm still learning what I learned from that experience. And So I highly, she's somebody that I highly recommend people if they want to get into understanding kind of the nuts and bolts beyond the material, beyond the physical body, the metaphysics of the situation. Check her work out. She runs the Barbara Ann Brennan School of Healing, which I think is a .com as well. And but back 20 years ago, even before I read her books, an inch and a half below the navel in the center of your being, there is this. Imagine that there is the whole universe. The whole universe is in there. And as a meditation, close your eyes and imagine that you're traveling into that space with your consciousness. And that the whole universe is infinite consciousness. And so it's like a journey home. And the thing is, you can do this anywhere. you can learn whatever you feel you want to learn and talk to whoever you want to talk to and have a conversation with the universe and receive whatever it has to say to you, or you feel it has to say to you. Even if you're in prison, either physically or mentally or emotionally or intellectually, you can just go there. And yeah, so that is something I've been aware of for, I guess, 20 years now. And often it informs my work. And I think that's kind of the crux of this painting here. And because I'm always putting these doorways and into the person and creating passages within the physical being, physical outline of a human being. And so anyway, blah, blah. Thanks for listening. Sun has definitely sizzled on down behind the mountain. And that means it's time to go, Jack. Okay, there we go. Gratitude. Remember, we love you.